Have you ever thought that you might regret moving into a nursing home? The first time I heard this question, I was surprised. In many people's eyes, nursing homes represent warmth, care, and safety, a safeguard for old age. When my own choice increasingly leaned toward moving into a nursing home, I too had expectations for the future. A quiet place, far from the city's noise, where life would become simpler and more peaceful. Elderly people gathered together, enjoying the tranquility of their later years, occasionally basking in the sun, sipping tea, and chatting. This image once symbolized an ideal life in my mind. However, after a few months of living in the nursing home, my illusions were shattered. Life here was not as serene and comfortable as I had imagined. Instead, it was filled with disappointment and unease. Gradually, I began to realize that my life had not become easier or better. In some ways, it had grown heavier. This decision might be my greatest regret in my twilight years. Everyone's understanding and expectations of a nursing home may differ, but in the eyes of myself and many other residents here, there are several harsh truths you must know in advance. These truths might help you see more clearly that life in a nursing home is not as ideal as it seems. Next, I will share 6 real-life lessons I've personally experienced since moving here. They have forced me to reconsider. If given the choice, would I take this path again? First, you won't always find true companionship. When I first entered the nursing home, I imagined forming deep friendships with many elderly residents, sharing stories of the past and bits of daily life. My neighbor was a woman in her 70s named Mary. She had just moved from another city and mentioned having 5 children, all busy with their own lives and rarely visiting. She appeared cheerful, always finding topics to discuss, but her eyes hid a trace of exhaustion and loneliness. One day, we sat in the courtyard soaking up the sun. Mary gazed at the distant garden and suddenly said, when I first moved here, it felt so lively. Everyone seemed busy and friendly. But now, I realize there are no real friends here, just people keeping each other company without truly understanding one another. In the nursing home, groups of people often gather to eat, chat, or play games. On the surface, these bustling scenes gave me the illusion that these people would become companions in my later life. But gradually, I noticed an undeniable truth. Even with so many people around, genuine companionship remains out of reach. These individuals and I share no real connection. Most of the time, our conversations revolve around the weather, health conditions, and memories of the past. We rarely discuss our inner worlds or share our feelings and dreams. Social activities are filled with tedious small talk and meaningless time killing. Everyone here stays busy passing the time, yet there is no true meeting of hearts. What makes me feel even lonelier is realizing that I've lost interest in these superficial interactions. You slowly understand that a crowd of voices around you only adds physical presence, not emotional fulfillment. Those once close to me have gradually been consumed by life's trivialities and societal pressures, and contact has grown sparse. Sometimes when the phone rings, I eagerly answer, only to hear a brief inquiry about my well-being, devoid of meaningful connection. Loneliness does not stem from a lack of people around you, but from an inner emptiness that remains unfulfilled. At that moment, I suddenly realized this companionship was merely surface-level interaction. We never truly entered each other's hearts. Despite always being surrounded by others, this artificial closeness brought me no warmth. Our lives intersect so shallowly. Many conversations exist solely to pass time, not for heartfelt exchange. I began to reflect. Perhaps true companionship is not about how many people surround you, but about finding someone with whom you can connect soulfully, sharing inner stories and emotions. Second, life becomes overly rigid. I once believed that moving into a nursing home would grant me more free time to pursue hobbies, reading, painting, walking. Instead, reality taught me a harsh lesson about losing freedom. Daily life in the nursing home is strictly regimented, with fixed schedules for every activity and time slot. Breakfast at a set hour, nap time at a set hour, Even evening entertainment is collective, leaving no room for personal choice. I remember one morning when I woke up unusually early and wanted to stroll in the courtyard under the dawn light. But noises in the hallway reminded me that staff had already begun their morning duties. When I went to the dining hall, I was told breakfast wouldn't start until 9 a.m. A wave of disappointment washed over me, and I thought, can I even have a tiny bit of freedom anymore? Every day's schedule is packed. Meal times are fixed, rest times are fixed, and even activities, medical checkups, and bathroom breaks are strictly managed. Each day feels like a series of clock-ins. My life has grown increasingly rigid, stripped of the flexibility and spontaneity I once had. Sometimes I wonder, why can't I watch a movie at night or take a morning walk like I used to? Why can't I choose to stay in my room all day, quietly enjoying solitude? But these choices no longer seem to belong to me. Here, despite being told I'm free, every shred of my freedom is quietly stripped away. I've started to feel like a machine of life, mechanically completing tasks while ignoring the freedom I originally longed for. Third, you gradually lose autonomy. I once thought a nursing home would provide better care, but I never imagined that such care could come at the cost of personal autonomy. In a nursing home, your life is enveloped in meticulous care that borders on omnipresence. Though it appears caring on the surface, this concern makes me feel increasingly sidelined in my own decisions. Initially, I could still choose to buy groceries and cook for myself, but eventually, the communal dining hall became my only option. The simple mornings where I could freely enjoy a breakfast of my choice became a distant luxury. More often than not, I feel that none of my life's choices are truly mine. I can't even decide which doctor to see or whether to undergo certain tests. These decisions have gradually become the nursing home's responsibility. Whenever I try to request different treatment, staff reply, "It's the facility's policy." Though these rules are supposedly for my benefit, they feel like insurmountable barriers. Little by little, I've lost control over my life. All decisions are made for me, becoming someone else's choices. Fourth, growing distance from the outside world. In my early days at the nursing home, I eagerly hoped to maintain ties with family and friends, even telling myself I'd have more time to enjoy life's pleasures. Slowly, however, I noticed my connections to the outside world fading. I have a dear friend named Irene, with whom I'd always shared a close bond. After I moved into the nursing home, her visits and calls dwindled. Whenever I call her, she's always too busy. I really want to visit, but I'm swamped. I'll come when I have time. This left me deeply disheartened. The friend who once shared daily updates and life's little joys now feels like a distant figure. I began to ask myself, can people once so close really drift apart so easily? Life seems to have pulled us further apart. The busyness of the outside world and my own loneliness left me feeling desolate, gradually severing my ties to the outside. It's not that they don't care. It's that their lives now operate on a different rhythm. The intimacy we once shared feels irretrievably distant. The phone calls now carry echoes of their hectic routines, while I listen silently, engulfed in unbridgeable solitude. Fifth, you begin to doubt your decision. One day, sitting by the window and gazing at the familiar courtyard, I was struck by an indescribable anxiety. Once, I had been full of hope for the nursing home, believing it to be the ideal place to spend my twilight years in peace. But as time passed, I began to doubt whether this was truly right for me. Sometimes, late at night, a wave of anxiety would crash over me. I'd ask myself, did I make the wrong choice? Should I stay here and accept this arrangement? I grew less certain that moving into the nursing home was the best decision. Daily life seemed devoid of purpose. Though surrounded by people, I often felt empty and helpless. This psychological weight gradually became part of my everyday existence. I realized I was no longer the self with dreams and goals. I had become an object arranged by life. Sixth, loss of personal space. In the nursing home, I found myself with almost no personal space. Though I have my own room, it doesn't offer true privacy. Every day, footsteps in the hallway, staff voices, and other residents' conversations intrude. I used to love staying home alone, reading, painting, savoring quiet moments. Here, even my room is filled with traces of life. Closing the door doesn't bring the solitude I crave. I once enjoyed countless serene mornings at home, meditating, writing, or sipping coffee in silence. Now, those small freedoms are gone. Though I have my own room, it feels permeated by others' presence. Noises from next door, footsteps in the corridor, incessant ringing bells. Every time I try to relax, I feel interrupted. You can never fully belong to yourself. There's always someone entering your life, restricting your freedom to enjoy solitude. These truths, though heavy, are the harsh realities I've gradually come to understand through life in the nursing home. If you're considering moving into one, I hope my experiences offer some guidance. Nursing homes are not perfect. They have advantages but also flaws. Ultimately, whether to live in one depends on your own needs for freedom, independence, and companionship. But whatever you choose, remember this: stay true to yourself and cherish every ounce of autonomy and independence in your life. Age may impose limitations, but true freedom doesn't come from external arrangements. It comes from your inner control over life. That's all for today's sharing. Hey, if you found this interesting, feel free to follow me and join our community. Let's explore more wonderful content and topics together.